Well, welcome to our little monthly webinar, and I thought the topic about getting fit was relevant, including myself. I think it's time to get fitter. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think when I was doing a little bit of preparation, one of the things that I believe about fitness is we tend to think about it as exercise, running, lifting, looking good, your fitness level. But I think it's bigger than that. I think it's about taking care of yourself and optimizing who you are. So that's what we're going to get in today. And the goal is to motivate, give you guys a couple pieces of advice, and really change the mindset that we need to wait until the new year to refocus our fitness levels. So today, let's kind of start with what is fitness. And so when you hear the word fitness, what do you think of fitness?
Well, the question I have for you is so why did you decide this topic? Let's go back to the very beginning. So obviously you were the one that came up with the thought, okay, let's do one on fitness, because, are you fit? What is fitness? Whatever. But what was your thoughts pushing this?
A lot of emails and coaching, and even internally, I would hear people say, I don't feel very good. I've gained the COVID-19. I'm not exercising, not moving, and just seemed like over the last 18 months, people weren't fit and didn't feel good. They were lousy, they were foggy, and then they went to go do something and they're like aches and pains. And so I thought the topic usually waits until the new year or when it's cold out.
Right.
It's not the middle of summer when we're really not going to change our bikini body in July. But I think this is an abnormal time where it's time to focus on getting fit.
You want to kick in the rear end and get going.
And
waiting.
including myself, 3 kids and juggling and virtually. I'm not as fit as I think I should be, and I'm pretty fit. And so I think it's a wide range of people, but I keep hearing I'm not fit.
And then today you were mentioning that you were running, and you're trying to come up. Well, what is fitness, or what levels?
I was running, and I was running at a rate that I always run at, and it's a rate that actually is fairly challenging. So I can only go a certain distance. Mm-hmm. I probably should run a little slower and a little longer, and sometimes I run a little faster and a little shorter, but
you're running at a good clip. I mean, you're running what?
Yeah, but I'm not in the shape that I should be,
or could be.
I'm in fine shape. Mm-hmm. But it hit
me.
Fine
shape for what?
Exactly, for what? For me.
That's the conversation today.
So that's the conversation, but it hit me what should your fitness level be? And that's a tough conversation, because when you think about fitness, it's whether it's your occupation or sport or your activities you do, are you fit enough to do those? And if you are, it's easy to be comfortable. But I think the message is, I think we're capable of so much more if we keep an eye on fitness on a 365-day a year kind of outlook versus I'm doing it because I have to.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, for me personally, you were saying, okay, so we'll get into the definitions, but if you just look at big picture things, a lot of people have an idea what their body weight is. And their body weight should be a certain level 24/7. I always tell my clients, let's try to get a window of 5 pounds, give or take, each direction. Once that level gets, the holidays are here, you overdo it, whatever, and I'm hitting the scale every so often, and I realize, wow, I need to get busy. I don't think we do that with fitness per se. We don't realize it until we try to do something that's maybe not in our wheelhouse, or we slowly move away from things that used to be in our wheelhouse, but they're not anymore. And you try to do that, and you can't do it anymore. And now you realize, like you were saying to running today, I probably could be more fit. I could be faster. Probably could go farther. The list goes on. So I think that's what wakes people up sometimes, is because they're not even using anything to measure their fitness level. And they've never even been aware maybe their fitness level could get better, or maybe it's not. It's falling down where maybe it could be.
I feel like it's easy to say I'll do it later.
Well, 82% of the population doesn't work out or move their body regularly. So
yeah, and so the hope and the positivity that I really wanted to come at today is I just think we are capable of more, deserve more, but it's become easy to kind of get into a certain routine and prioritize something else. Like, why would you ever have to run an 8-minute mile to survive in life? Most people don't have to, but you should probably, for many people, you probably should be able to if you wanted to.
Well, or
you could. I mean, that's
but
one example.
Most people, if you think about marathon running or a triathlon or whatever, most people do the first triathlon or marathon after they've hit 40. Why is that? You got to go, well, why? Well, because I want to try it, and I want to kind of throw it in my bucket list. Yeah, something to train for. So I always like to train for something. So if I'm going to go hiking in the Grand Canyon, or I'm going to go skiing, or whatever I'm going to do, get in a bodybuilding contest or whatever, play better golf, I want to train for something, right?
And if you don't have something to train for, it's easy to say, I'll do it later.
And that's what's motivating sometimes, is you put a carrot out there and you're like, okay, and then again, it could be a small carrot that you're doing over time, and that's our point today. We're not trying to feel like you need to run a marathon or anything, but fitness is elusive, just like it is in life, that if you're not doing it consistently, you slowly lose it. And the goal is, if you do it consistently, then you can slowly improve it. And that's really our message today, is like, let's start waking up a little bit more about your fitness, and then how do we go about improving that?
So fitness is, you could define it many different ways. I tend to think about it as cardio, muscular, skeletal, the body, your body comp, weight, body fat, and flexibility. And then I do think there's a mental fitness component. So those are the 5 areas: cardio, muscular, skeletal, body comp, flexibility, and mental. So it's big. It's not just weight.
Yeah, it's in fitness is a lot of things. As you said, it's mental fitness. It's the energy component. A sidebar, all this stuff is your health. When people get more fit, they're healthier. So it all goes together.
Here's an interesting stat. We've all heard the COVID-15 joke. We've gained the 15 pounds over COVID. Then it was COVID-19 weight, 19 pounds. But the research came in, and folks that reported excess weight gain, the average is 29 pounds. So it wasn't COVID-15, it wasn't COVID-19, it was COVID-29. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Fitbit did a study of their 30 million users, and there was a 15% reduction in the United States in steps, close to 30% in Europe. And so it's a pandemic inside a pandemic of lack of activity, loss of fitness. And I think a lot of people are ready. We talk about that. Are people ready? I think people are ready. They're looking around. Things are a little tighter. They don't feel as good. They can't do some things that maybe they wanted to do or could do. But I do think there's a hesitation to say, well, let me just wait for when it's normally that time, like the new year. So, what do you think when you hear some of those stats?
Well, the more you dig yourself a hole, the bigger shovel you're going to have. And so we see this every day, whether it's their health or their fitness or whatever, they just keep postponing it. And then, as I mentioned before, it's the ducks on the frozen pond. The ducks would rather stay in the pond than flying south for the winter. And then the next thing you know, the pond freezes. And so people's world starts to shrink, right?
Sounds depressing.
It's very depressing. The ducks get their feet frozen in the pond, but it's no different than I quit climbing the stairs, and I quit doing this, and I quit doing this, and I quit doing this, and the next thing you know, you just keep shrinking.
Yeah. I used to be able to run. My knees bother me.
Yeah, I can't run anymore. I'm going to buy a house because I have no stairs, and I'm not going to do this, and So we all do this, like
I used to play paddleball.
I used to do this, and I used to do this, and now I don't do it anymore. So the next thing you know, we're not playing as much. Our activities are shrinking.
So you really think what happens is people have this box or this circle, and it shrinks.
The box is shrinking.
Mm-hmm. The box is shrinking.
Yeah. So at 64 this fall, my box is shrinking. But one of my goals is that I know there's certain things my flexibility is the thing I spend a lot of time working on, my flexibility, my balance.
How's your flexibility now versus?
I think my flexibility is pretty good. And I took a private yoga session the other day with with Tony, and she's like kind of surprised that I can move as good as I can move, but I think I still can move better. And so that's the thing. I think.
What do you think that difference is? What makes you want to move better? Because we talk about this. We get some clients, or we get somebody that we don't know, not even a client yet, and we're trying to nudge them. Nudge is probably a good word.
Nudge is a good word.
To want a little bit more.
Well, I think the other thing too, sometimes you put that vision out there for them and like, I never thought of that. And then they start seeing, well, that's the hope. Now you mean if I do incremental steps, progressions along the way, then you slowly, like I like to teach people how to do a push-up. And we start with a modified push-up on the floor or a wall, and then eventually and then you see the smile on their face and they're like, oh my gosh, I just did a real push-up. Yeah, you did. But it was starting this along the way, and I think when people start seeing growth and it's incremental, they get fired up. But they don't think they can do it. And then the next thing you know, they see they can do it, but you got to do it slowly.
You believe you can be fitter or more flexible or have a bigger container.
Yeah, even though that I'm getting older.
Whether or not you get there, it doesn't really matter, right?
Well, but it's the pursuit. So that last chapter in my new book.
To pursue, you have to believe it's possible.
Well, yeah, and again, sometimes it's not always going to work the same way you want it to be, but what happens over time, it's in the pursuit what really is all the good stuff. And so it's the journey. It's not climbing the mountain. It's not getting up to the mountain. It's the pursuit of the mountain.
Yeah, like I've been trying to break a 5-minute mile for, it seems like 15 years. I trained pretty hard last year and hurt myself, but not hurt myself. I had an injury and it kind of
delayed it.
But I think I'm more interested in the pursuit of that 5-minute mile than I am really like when I break it will.
That's right. So the key is you're gonna, you might break that 5-minute mile this year, but when you're done doing it, it's never me getting up on stage in the bikini. It's always the pursuit to get there. And so it's all the stuff between your ears and all the stuff, and it's with you. And that's the beautiful thing about fitness, in my opinion. It has nothing to do with anybody else except for you. And when you start putting yourself in a position to grow, people get excited about that, whether they're learning a new language or they're writing a book or they're doing something fitness related. It's the growth, and I think that's when people get depressed and they lose hope, and because they don't think that's possible to grow. And as they start to grow, they're like, man, that's the magic. So over the years, training clients, I would always put things out there to them. Like, hey, would you like to do this? They're like, oh, I can't do that. Would you like to do that? Yeah, I'd like to do that, but I can't. They would keep.
You tell the story about the guy that he didn't really like working out, but he wanted to learn how to play basketball. You didn't expect that.
No, I just asked him. 73 years old.
Didn't know how to dribble.
Never touched a basketball in his life. He saw it on TV. Watched Michigan State basketball. I loved, the Spartans, but he thought it would be fun. Well, then we put his workout around his basketball. So now he wanted to get better in basketball. So now I'm training for something.
So that's probably one of the keys to the audience watching today is we got to find something that is internally passionate, motivating, but also the pursuit and the optimism that you can have greater fitness, and we should demand and want greater fitness.
Well, and I think you're moving in that's the path. But enthusiasm about life is something that I think more and more people that word enthusiasm. I love that word because that's what makes life special. Sometimes is when you have that enthusiasm, and when people are growing, I see their enthusiasm. So when clients would come to see me, it's not about the X's and O's and showing them this. It was the enthusiasm that I would try to share with them, like, this could be possible. And then they get all fired up, and the next thing you know, they start believing, if I eat a little bit better and I sleep a little bit better and I work on my breathing, and the next thing you know, their health gets better and everything else gets better, they feel better, they perform better, and then their fitness level starts to expand. And I think that's the challenge for more people. They're not even aware of it, that it could be improved. And it doesn't have to be, a sweat box to get in better shape from a fitness standpoint.
So let's just say someone comes, let's just use kind of a test case. Someone came to see us and they are not in the shape they want to be. Maybe they want to lose weight. where would we begin with evaluating kind of their fitness level? Because you started with what should someone's fitness level be. How do we look at fitness right off the bat?
Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is posture and body alignment. So I'm going to wake them up right away
because that'll tell us how much activity are they doing.
Yeah, so I'm going to see you do a body weight squat and see if your knee caves in and your hips moving this way or whatever. Or I might do a wall extension, raise their arms overhead and their elbows bare. They're now starting to be aware, like, man, no wonder my shoulder bothers me, or no wonder my back bothers me, or whatever. It's just that awareness. So that's really where I begin. It's the same thing with their nutrition. They don't even know that they're missing. I'll ask them how much water they drink. They have no idea. Or they don't really know what the resting heart rate is. And so the resting heart rate shows that they're not fit. But they didn't know that.
So you're starting with self-awareness by having them maybe go through some motions.
Correct.
Maybe it's a food log telling them how they're eating, just to look at it and say, oh, yeah, that is where I'm currently at.
And a thing I like to do in the first session or two is I ask lots of questions to them. So tell me what an omega-3 fat is. Well, if they don't know what an omega-3 fat is, they're not consuming an omega-3 fat probably. Tell me what your resting heart rate is. I have no idea. How many breaths do you take per minute? I have no idea. Can you do a wall extension against the wall? They're like, oh, that looks pretty simple. Yeah, it is simple, but can you do it without your head coming apart and your body falling apart? And you can see this. Can you do a body weight push-up? We might get into that if that's where they wanted to go. So we'll get into some of that stuff, and then it really creates this awareness, like ding, 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 ding.
So we're creating self-awareness, and we're talking about maybe some movements like wall extension or up dog, down dog on the wall, and maybe that's a movement they are not comfortable with. But we also see individuals that come in with extremely high confidence in their fitness level, and our job is to maybe expand that.
Correct.
And so you might have someone come in that trains this way 5-6 days a week, looks the part, but maybe missing an element that's kind of limiting them in some other areas.
Yeah, like I had a guy that I was training not too long ago. Is very, very fit, very muscular, but he has no mobility. He gets hurt all the time. So he gets hurt in his back and his hamstrings, and he's too young. He's in his early...
So his container is pretty large in one area, but there's an area where it's very...
super strong and powerful looking, whatever, but doesn't have the mobility, flexibility, and he has limitations, which we all do. So you start uncovering. So part of that fitness level is we want to work on mobility, flexibility of the ankles or their back. Maybe they can't even get into flexion, extension in their spine. So now we're getting real specific, like, yeah, no wonder you're having these issues because you don't have that. They don't even know, they're not even aware of that.
And that's one of the, not a side piece, that's why these yoga poses are so beneficial, because it shows planes of movement, it shows different extension, flexion, twisting, turning, which most, I would call it most training that we see tend to be forward.
And again, not everybody's going to have to be like know all these tests and whatever, but what you're doing is just creating an awareness that where they are. And generally when they're coming to see us, they want to improve something.
So again, for everyone watching, the key is you have to create self-awareness. And the self-awareness comes from curiosity. Sometimes it's our job to motivate and to coach and to pull that curiosity out. If you're watching today, maybe the curiosity is, what are some movements I can do? What are some movements I can't do? What's my cardiovascular range? Can I do some steady state aerobic? Do I have any anaerobic? Do I have strength? Well, the flexibility is one.
So it's interesting. We were up north a couple weekends ago with my siblings, and some of them have electronic bikes, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm climbing these hills and I don't have the electronic bike, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm not in that good a shape. And then I realized they got electronic bikes, but they were both saying, wow, I'm surprised you kept up with us.
Because I want an electronic bike. It's kind of easy.
So you're realizing over time that even though a lot of it crosses over, so yeah, I might not be riding a bike all the time, but my fitness level is, again, training specific. I can hang.
Yeah, you were talking of the Olympics going on, and you can tell a sprinter, a swimmer, a gymnast. So what do you say? Training follows function?
Form follows function. Walt Reynolds always would talk to me about, if you look at the cheetah looks like it can run fast. If you look at the elephant, the elephant's strong and big, but it can't run fast. So Form follows function. So when you think of fitness, it's the same thing. If you train a certain way, you will look like you can do that activity.
So first step, we got to create self-awareness, the possibilities. I think that is one of the limiting factors. I was running today thinking about everyone that may see this and think, what should your fitness level be? It could be a wide range, but it begins with self-awareness. Where are you currently at? Number 2 is, what do they want?
Right.
How important is that?
It's huge, because again, you'll dive in and I'll really, at the end, at some point in time, I'm going to talk about what they want. But then when you start digging deeper, then they want, I'd like to really be able to, we love that commercial where the guy's doing the kettlebell, training the senior grandpa so he can put the, the star on the tree.
Yeah, you're watching this commercial and you're thinking, what is he training for? He's outside in the snow and he's lifting this kettlebell because he wants to lift his
grandchild to put the star on the tree. So that really hits everybody. Like, that is such a great fitness commercial, because now it gets the essence of why do I want to be more fit? So I can have a bigger container. And if I didn't have that fit, I couldn't raise my granddaughter up to put the star on the tree, which, that's just a touching moment.
We all get people that say, I don't know what I want. Well, I mean, it's so important, but yet I think everybody has it deep down, but we get caught up into our habits and our limitations, and I don't know if I really want to do a push-up or a pull-up. And we would say, well, why not? But some people
But not everybody. But then what the goal is to start digging, because you're really good at this. Like, find activities you enjoy. So really think about that. Find activities you enjoy. Wow. Or play. I mean, I have a chapter in my new book, and you kind of, got me thinking about this a long time ago, but people love to play. But as adults, we slowly get away from playing. And so there's nothing better when you talk about mental health. You're doing a presentation today on mental health and anxiety. There's nothing better for the mind to play. So imagine if you had an activity, and then people they'll play pickleball or something. It's easy to learn. But then over time, you're like, man, I'd like to be able to move a little bit better. So now you got them to play, and now they find something to train for. My fitness level goes up.
Yeah, so you have to have something you want. You think about it. Might be weight. So we talk COVID-19, yes, COVID-29.
COVID-29.
It could be weight loss, but the weight loss will happen when you're fitter.
It's form follows function.
And so it works every time.
Every time.
Everybody's got different body types and different genetics, and maybe someone can be leaner or someone can be a little more body fat, but if you are fit, the weight will follow it.
Yeah, so again, imagine if you're saying, I'm going to get on that step mill and grind it out every day to move my...
And you hate it.
You hate it. That's not going to...
The gauntlet.
That's not going to make you more fit. It's probably going to make you more stressed and make you more unfit. So the point of it is, as you try activities and you like moving your body, your fitness level starts improving, your energy improves, your mental health improves, everything starts to improve. But when people are fit, when I look at that all-encompassing thing, again, mental and physical are not independent. They're together. And so when you get a healthy, vibrant, gratitude, curious mind, and you put that with this over here, that's the home run here. So to me, when I'm falling apart, it's because I'm not taking care of my...
There's some imbalances.
So some imbalances. I'm not taking care of that. And that's really a big priority for me, because when I feel more fit, I feel, more energy and everything else that goes with it.
So we're creating self-awareness. We ask, and you're thinking about, what do you want? Trying to find that emotional connection with the why, kind of like the guy doing the kettlebell with the daughter and the star.
The granddaughter up.
That takes a little bit of time. You got to think about that. I mean, for me, I have many whys. Like, why would I ever want to break a 5-minute mile?
Why do you?
You got to find it, because it's the pursuit that gets me to train.
It's hard.
And everything else lines up.
Yeah.
For me, that's one mode that allows me to line up.
Hey, you're saying, well, what is possible? And not everybody's interested in that, but at certain levels. But why do people climb Mount Kilimanjaro? Why do they walk in the Grand Canyon? Or what do they do? Why do they do anything? It's because it's that curiosity. It's that growth mindset. And not everybody has that. But again, they could be smaller versions of that.
And then now we get into I would say the action steps. So the small steps, the behavior change. What are a couple kind of key things people should look at? Like, what are some small steps to get better shape, to get better?
Well, again, the self-awareness, where are you starting from? And then I think what people try to do is they try to go too fast, and there's no progressions, and they hurt too much, and then they get beat up and they want to do it anymore. But really you want to just say, let's quit analyzing it. I get so many people that get paralyzed. I'm gonna analyze this.
It's go time.
Stop analyzing it. Quit thinking. Just go do it. Just go walk for 10 minutes. Just do these 3 stretches. Go swimming. I went swimming the other day, and holy cow! And we took Brady there, and
it's tough.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to swim more, because I realized that, wow, in just a matter of going down and back, because I was kind of inspired by the Olympics, and I'm watching these, professional, both men and women. I'm like, wow, that is inspiring. And I start swimming. I'm like, I think I really woke me up. Like, I probably need to swim a little more.
Yeah, I take the kids to the park, and you watch these kids up and down and around and into these little slots, and they're just moving.
Right.
They're active.
They're just moving.
And so then you hop on the monkey bars, and you think, my shoulder's going to fall out of the socket. And you wonder, well, when did I stop climbing? When did I stop reaching? When did I?
Well, I had to laugh, like in the Olympics.
When you stop swimming,
Yeah, and so we're swimming up north, and so I'm swimming more because I don't swim that much, and I'm like, okay, I need to swim more. But when I'm watching the Olympics and they're going on the pommel horse or whatever, I'm like, how do they go from there to there? I couldn't even just. So it really makes you. There's all
yourself up.
Oh my gosh, my arm would just go that way, but. The point of it is that you start creating this awareness that, I'm never going to be there, but maybe I'd like to do a couple things. I'd like to, we always tease Dawn about hanging from the bar in there. That's the basic stuff that people need to do to allow them to keep that, that pond bigger and that box not so limited.
So we talk about the big 3 measurements. You talked about it, the resting heart rate, but what are the big 3 that kind of, You're wondering today, what's your fitness level? Obviously, we can look at weight, we can look at body composition, we can look at, how you look and feel, but there are some kind of measurements that we can tell you right away, you're fit or not fit. So what are the big 3?
Well, the biggest one is what your resting heart rate is. Everybody needs to know that. So if you have a resting heart rate over 70, you're probably not very fit. And the coolest thing about that can change relatively fast. So I'd get my clients, the first thing I would do is...
You can measure it yourself.
I can measure it. So I'd get the resting heart rate, and it'd be 74, 76, and I put a goal. I'm like, hey, let's get our resting heart rate under 70, because if your resting heart rate's under 70, your stroke volume, your contraction of the heart goes up, your fitness level's improving.
Makes it easier to do things.
So then you can be more efficient. So you walk to the mailbox, and you're not out of breath anymore. If you climb a flight of stairs, right. So now they're like, I kind of like that. It's like an easy button for the body. So resting heart rate's absolutely, and if your stress levels are high or overtraining, resting heart rate goes up. But it's a great indicator of your over fitness level, your stress levels, and it's a cool thing because you can see measuring. What goes hand in hand with that is how many breaths you take per minute. So breathing is a practice. And as you start using your diaphragm, and the nose and the nasal passages, and you slow it down, that goes hand in hand with the resting heart rate. Now my lungs are more efficient, my heart's more efficient, I'm more fit. And then the last one is your blood pressure.
How many people that come in, they've seen cardiologists, specialists, physicals, and all this, they've had all the tests, and they have no idea what their breaths per minute are.
Everybody.
So there you go, everybody.
So again,
and what does it require?
You're not trying to throw any of the fitness, or the health professionals under the bus, but we need to take more ownership in our health. And part of that ownership in our health is your fitness level, because your resting heart rate does not lie. If your resting heart rate, we were talking about this yesterday, one of my best friends was saying, his resting heart rate's probably in the mid 40s or lower. And then he was talking about this other guy he knew that his resting heart rate was 110, and he didn't realize that wasn't bad. He didn't realize it. So
it's a big range.
It's a huge range. So again, that's that awareness piece. But most
what does that feel like?
A resting heart rate of 110, that means you can't hardly do. Your range is very, very tiny. So when you looked at, again, getting back to exercise physiology, but if I have a resting heart rate, let's just say use an example of 50, and my maximum heart rate gets to maybe, just say 150, you have a range of 100. So now I have a range. But imagine if your resting heart rate's at 110, and your max is at 130, you can't do anything. So the next thing you know, I quit doing things, and now my fitness level is compromised. So one of the things we used to do years ago is we used to do COPD testing, which is chronic obstructive thing with the lung, and you would put a nasal, and you'd have to breathe through a straw. So you taped a straw, and that's all you could breathe.
So you're acting like you have COPD.
You act like you have COPD, and you would do certain activities. And it hit me like I remember this like yesterday.
You're going to pass out.
We had to walk 30 yards and then walk back. Almost everybody was ripping off their stuff because they couldn't.
Nervous. You think you're going to suffocate?
I can't do it. So then you realize what what their limiting is for somebody who has chronic.
And how they can become comfortable.
Correct.
They
would walk
in a position that's
10
so
feet and they would sit
uncomfortable
down.
for you.
Mm-hmm. You know, and we experienced that with Grandpa because he had COPD.
All right, so resting heart rate, breaths per minute, and the third one, everyone kind of knows this as the gold standard, resting blood pressure.
Yeah, so blood pressure goes hand in hand. So again, if you change how you breathe, you have a lower resting heart rate, you will not have high blood pressure.
So doctor, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, doctor says, hey, you have a resting heart rate or resting blood pressure of 130, 140 over 90, 100, and it's time to get medicated or some treatments.
You got to get more fit.
You got to get more fit. So it's not necessarily, hey, you've been dealt this hand.
Mm-mm.
It's
your fitness level.
It's time to get busy.
So your fitness level will show up in your blood work. It will show up in some of these non-blood tests. They will show up, and then we talk about the range of motion, whether it's the flexibility, the balance, the strength. There's lots of ways to look at your fitness level. Getting in the pool and realizing you can't swim very good.
Well, especially if you're holding Brady and making sure he stays
buoyant.
Brady likes to jump in the pool a lot. All right, so as we kind of wrap up here, let's talk about some areas that people can evaluate, maybe do some exercise that's different, like, okay, try to do a push-up, try to do a pull-up. Can you run? Can you move side to side?
Well, I think before you do a pull-up, it would be a hang.
Can you hang?
Can you hang for 30 seconds?
Like I was at the jungle gym, and I can do it, but I asked.
So I have all my clients come in, and so you're not worried about doing a pull-up. We're worried about doing a hang. So when I get in, almost all of them, because again, it allows.
It'll tell them about your shoulder. It'll tell them about their shoulders, flexibility of the
Correct.
back, how their neck is lined up.
So they get there and they hang, but they don't hang unsupported. So we start with unsupported because it works on your grip strength. It works on the extension of your spine. And then from there, we just have them go up on their, I support them, but now they're on their tiptoes. And then eventually we go to 5 or 10 seconds completely unsupported. That's how it all begins. And they're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even do that, 2 months ago or 1 month ago or whatever. That's how it all begins. Same thing with a push-up or a squat or whatever it is.
So you're kind of looking, okay, strength, okay, here's some basics. A push-up, a pull-up, maybe a lunge, maybe a squat. Where are we at in that position?
Could you do a step up without holding on?
And there's a range of client that we're talking about today. It could be someone that hasn't done any of these movements.
Correct.
And they're challenging, or does them all the time, but maybe their range of motion, flexibility, balance is not where it could be.
Yeah, so again,
they can do a lot of reps, a lot of weight.
I had a guy today, he's super fit, but he realized that he needed to probably spend more time working on his balance.
Because you showed him some self-awareness.
So he had super strength, so if we said, hey, let's just squat or let's do a lunge or whatever the weights, but when I added the balance component to him, they're like, ooh, my left side's really good, but my right side's not so good. That's that awareness, and now he realizes, yeah, as I get older, I probably need to work more on that so I have a little more symmetry back and forth.
What about cardio? How do you evaluate, how does somebody kind of determine their fitness level from a cardio?
Well, one of the things we used to do very quickly is I used to have a flight of stairs, and I would have them go up and down the stairs 3 times. And then
I walk or jog, or
I just have them walk up the stairs. I walk up the stairs, walk down,
maybe do
walk
a talk
up,
test,
one down, walk up, walk down. I didn't do anything. They knew right away. Like, holy crap! It was like me swimming. Like, I need to go, get busy there. Now, then we would do also things. We would monitor their heart rate. This gets a little bit more scientific, but you don't have to do that. Just walk up and down a couple flights of stairs and see how you're doing. Now, again, we get into training specificity, but that's the cardio piece. And
there is a lot of technology. I think we
there is
like the Whoop and the the wearables, and it tells you all these different metrics. But at the end of the day, it's kind of why I chose this topic right now. We got more data, more information, abundance of all this, but we're not fit. And so we can keep analyzing in the data. It's time to get busy.
Time to get busy.
And so that's kind of
do some basic things. Just start moving your body. Don't overthink it. Yeah.
And how about flexibility? I think that's an area where people neglect fitness. You know, Matt, I'm fit. I work out 7 days a week. You look at me, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, you just can, because this is what we do. We see them and they're rounded.
Yeah.
They got compromised shoulder flexibility, maybe some plantar fasciitis in their foot, their lower back. You know, they can't.
Well, you know this. I went to see Walt and I, been lifelong friends. But one of the things we talked about is mobility, flexibility, the ankle, the knee, whatever. I wasn't aware of that. You know, I have 3 screws in my knee from a patella rupture. And you say to me, where's your limiting factor? Oh, it's my knee. Well, it really wasn't my knee, it was my ankle. But he created that awareness, and then I did some easy restorative stretches.
Yeah, you're very curious. Go to see Tony. You're telling her this. No, Tony says no. How about your upper back flexibility?
Correct. Yeah. So, you need to be able to...
Because sometimes you need someone to give you some perspective.
So it's not a bad thing to get some percentages along the way to help people uncover some of these things. There's a lot of professionals out there that can do a great job with that, but really got to get back to some basics and what do you want and what are you going to do about it.
And then how about body weight, BMI? What should someone look for that in those numbers?
Well, I think when you think about like fitness and when a person is generally going to be more overweight, like you said, gaining the 29 from COVID, they're going to have more stress on their body. Their cardiovascular fitness, it's like putting a 30-pound weight on your back. You're probably not going to function as well, can't move as well.
Can't breathe as well.
Can't breathe as well. Everything's harder to do. So they kind of all goes back and forth. But what I like to really get people to focus is on the process. What do you really want? I want to get it more fit. If they think fitness first versus weight loss, I got them. Because they'll get the weight loss as they get more fit. If they just focus on the weight loss, sometimes it doesn't make their fitness necessarily better. They might be doing some stupid diet that makes their fitness level or their health even worse.
I mean, we see it a lot where dramatic weight loss.
Yeah, it doesn't make them more fit.
Unfit.
I had a guy years ago, and he was on some stupid diet, and I hadn't seen him in about.
What did you think of the diet?
Stupid.
Good diet.
So he comes to see me, and he's lost all this weight, and he couldn't help. He was telling me all about it, and I'm like, it's
how
like
good it is,
how good it is, and how much weight. It's crazy.
Telling all the coworkers.
Yeah, and he's doing all this stuff. He's super acidic. He's a mess. So I took him over from the baseline, what we did before, and we were doing a modular pull-up. The modular pull-up would assist you going up.
Yeah.
The guy couldn't do one assisted pull-up, and he could do
full weight stack.
With a full versus before he could do like 8 reps.
Lost a bunch of weight.
Hit him in the head like a ton of bricks. He's lighter. And he has no strength. Is he fitter? No, he's worse. So he didn't want to hear about it, but to me, he was losing the game of what he was really trying to, which is health and fitness, not weight loss. So he might look better, but he can't do anything.
So BMI is just a
It's an awareness tool.
Yeah, weight is
an awareness tool.
And if you can connect that, let's just say you have 5 metrics. We talked about some of these others, breathing and resting heart rate. And your weight, give or take 3 to 5 pounds, now you kind of have some things to keep you in balance.
And here's the thing about BMI. It's not even accurate. It's terrible. I remember going to see my doctor, and he goes, you're borderline obese. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're 5'9" and a quarter, you weigh 175 pounds, you're at 20%. 26 on the
and then we could get into body fat, which is a little bit more accurate, but who cares?
Yeah, but you just said, just get on the scale, get a belt, look in the mirror does not lie. Again, it's things we don't, but these are the things that just keep you aware. But I really like the 5-pound increment. Like get to somewhere where you think you feel pretty good.
This.
You don't have to be super lean or fit or ripped or whatever, but you want to say to yourself, okay, I feel pretty good at this, I need to keep it in that range. But as my fitness level improves, generally the body weight starts to get more in line, and then I'm focusing on fitness, not just focus on losing weight.
All right, so as we wrap up, and I think we've kind of I hope, motivated and nudged. It's kind of go time, including myself.
Yeah, and I think it's a good conversation to have regularly, and we all need nudges. So people don't think that we don't. We all need to be nudged. But again, the increments, if they're slow, you think about what you want, you think about what activities you enjoy. Like you're trying to run the mile, it's kind of exciting again. Maybe I'm getting more, my injuries gets better. Now I can kind of a little bit more go.
Well, and there's so many layers. I mean, now I'm focusing on flexibility, and so when I do run that gait, how does it feel? Does it feel like I'm the effort? So there's layers on layers on layers if you want it to be in the pursuit. It's not just can I do X amount? And like a pull-up.
Right.
If we looked at what somebody thought a pull-up is, there's so many different variations.
Correct.
There's so many pace and frequency and range of motion, and so I think fitness is something we should all be a little bit more appreciative of, because the human body does some amazing things. Like I'm looking out the window right now, and as a kid I could climb that tree in probably like 10 seconds. I probably can't climb that tree right now.
Well, and I think one of the things I love about the Olympics, it brings that back of what's possible. And it's not like I'm going to be like the Olympic.
And you're not.
I'm never going to be, and I won't be. So the point of it is, but it shows you how incredible the human body is. And sometimes we just don't have to go to that level, but for our own little space, everybody has their own little,
We should push ourselves out
just
of our
a little bit,
comfort zone
a little bit, and that's the pursuit, and that's what's fun. And I think, so whether you're doing anything in your life and you kind of push it a little bit and get a little uncomfortable, but when you look back, that's the cool stuff. And I think that's what people start getting excited about their life, and you create more hope. And that's really what the point today is. We're trying to create more hope, that people want to take more, be more curious and take more. Because when we don't have our health, I think that's the gift COVID gave us, is that when we lose our health, we don't have a whole lot.
Yeah, and fitness will add to your health. And if we can just focus on being more fit, for me, it's not about any of these numbers. It's really, I don't want any limitations. I think
or less
limitations.
Less
I'm going to have
limitations.
limitations. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of limitations.
I got a whole list of them.
But I think everybody wants to move. That's one thing I realized when you talk to people. Everybody wants to move in the future, that are capable of moving. But are you training your fitness to move at the highest level you're capable? And I think that's what makes life more enjoyable. And we've all seen people that maybe waited a little too long, and now they're like, well, I want to move. Well,
but the human body will try to self-correct, and I think the big point is it really gets back to the person.
Yeah.
So it's not, that's what the pursuit is. It's with you.
It's not what you like to do, and everyone should do it.
It's not comparing you to I'm not comparing myself to the Olympic swimmers. I'm just looking, I'm like, that's really awesome. It's inspiring. So I'm just going to take my little bubble, and how can I improve my little bubble?
You're inspired, but you're also aspiring to do it something yourself.
Correct.
You're not just watching and saying, well, I can't do that. I'm not going to do anything. Well,
right.
Look what they can do. Hey, I'm going to try to see where I can go.
And that's the thing, as I get older, I want to be able to do all this stuff with my my grandkids as they get older. That's big.
And you still want to beat me in golf, which is tough.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for everybody for joining us. We'll keep working on his golf game. But the pursuit of getting more fit is, I think, in everybody's hands, and we wanted to bring it to you now versus waiting for the new year. So we'll see you next time.